Hello friends, and welcome to Ask the Rev Wednesdays. My name is Marshall Brown. I'm the senior pastor here at Grace Presbyterian Church. Ask the Rev Wednesdays are opportunities for you to ask questions about the sermon, the church, really anything regarding Christianity or anything at all, and for me to give my best shot at answering it. Today's question is a heavy one, born out of personal experience, but a very important one. Here's the question. Jesus' victory over sin and death through his death and resurrection was so deep and so thorough, I understand their power and effects were taken away, but why weren't sin and death eliminated completely yet? To ask another way, why weren't sin and death immediately eliminated when Jesus was raised from the dead? Well, let me say three things in response to that. First is this. We don't really know. God's purposes are past our finding out. A couple of reasons that might be. This is certainly not an exclusive list nor an authoritative list, but one thing that Jesus wanted to refine us by allowing us to suffer. Second, he wants us to trust Him, to learn to live by faith. But ultimately, we don't know why Jesus and God waited for the fullness of the resurrection to be applied to us. But second, it's important to establish that Jesus did suffer in this world, and I think that's easily forgotten, but that Jesus suffered the full weight, the consequence of sin, both by His death, by the injustice of His life, even the fact of His life, the Son of God becoming one of us. But the third thing I want to say is that Jesus came as the first fruits. Let me read from 1 Corinthians 15, beginning in verse 20. Paul's making the argument that Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. For as by a man came death, by a man also has come the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, so in Christ all shall be made alive, but each in his order. Christ the first fruits, then at His coming those who belong to Christ. Then comes the end. Now the image here that's been popularized by a phrase called the now and the not yet. There are aspects of the crucifixion and the resurrection that apply to us now, things like our justification, even our assurance, our sanctification. But there are things that are not yet applied, like the fullness of all the weight of evil and justice being established. That is not yet. Jesus is the first fruits, but the fullness of the harvest does not come until later. And it's this idea that there are things that are applied now, but there is also a not yet that is still to come. Jesus is the first fruits that are greater. He has been raised from the dead, and so we shall be in all of the effects of sin and fall, death, suffering, evil, injustice. All of that will be taken away when He returns. But He's the first fruit, and we are not the first fruit. So that's a stab at a very difficult and hard question to answer, especially when somebody's going through suffering. Well, that's Ask the Rev Wednesdays. Thanks for your questions. Keep them coming, and Lord be with you.